Yeah. Look at this. Yes, it is Thursday. It is 9. And of course, it's UK Cowboys time. And Merry Christmas to everybody. If we haven't spoken to you, hope Santa emptied his sack all over your house and that it was everything that you desired. How we doing, fellas?
I don't know how to take that.
I don't know.
Santa has a sack of presents, mate.
I know, but the context of that could be way too distorted. So, but yes, I had a lovely Christmas. Thank you. And yourself?
I had a good one as well. Albeit the book I got that I showed you, I've gone through that. It's about to get a very bad review on Amazon.
Oh wow, that bad, huh?
Oh, I mean, there's questions in every single chapter. I mean, like, completely wrong, and I'm sort of starting to question myself as to whether I do know anything. And it's like, no, actually, I do. So, things like who was the last team that we won against in the Super Bowl, and they're saying it's Buffalo, and you're like, no, it wasn't. So things like that, and saying that the original colours of the Cowboys were green and gold. That's a non-starter. So,
wow. Okay. Well, I think this is the time where Mr. Lorne Callahan should be, who is our very own historian within the UK Cowboys, to actually write his own book.
Oh, I think on the back of that, I probably could.
Honestly, if the fact that someone like that can actually screw up the title saying Dallas Cowboys in the title and then the under subtitle should be about the Green Bay Packers, then I think anyone could write a book. But with your history and knowledge, Lauren, I think you're going to be a top seller.
Yep. I'll give it some thought and do it.
Yeah, we'll make sure we'll get in touch with Nick Heatman and to get in touch with a publisher and stuff like that. It's like the Europeans Guide to the Dallas Cowboys or something like that. Who knows? There you go.
Let's do it then. Right.
That didn't take much arm twisting.
No. That'll pay for 2025. That'll do fine.
There we go.
That's the way to do it. Hey,
no, here we go.
Oh, very good. Yeah.
Oh, what are you drinking there, Mike? You on the bubbly?
Of course I am. I am off right now. So I was drinking. There you go. You didn't even go for the glass. I was.
Hey, I'm from Barhead in Glasgow. I don't use glasses. I use the bottle. Come on.
I know. I walked out of your apartment and seeing what was going on there. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
We were sitting there watching the NFL awards, and there's a load of police cars outside. And I'm like, Paul.
Standard Saturday night.
That was exactly what you said. But there we go then. So that's Barhead for you guys, where they drink out of bottles and use glasses as weapons.
Oh yeah. Well, we are a friendly bunch over here, especially to our American friends. That you're probably going to be the most nicest people in person, but back here at home to each other, we're not.
I mean, I didn't have any problem with anybody. And as soon as I said where I was from, everyone was like, "Oh my god, let me get you a drink," and I'm like, "Oh, thank you very much."
Oh yeah, if you're not from Barhead and it's a Barhead person to Barhead person, you're either going to get a good friend or you're going to have who's this absolute Tadger, pretty much.
And talking of Tadgers, we are talking about this weekend's game, which is against the Detroit Lions. Yes, it's the pregame show, which kicks off this weekend. Sunday morning at 1:15 a.m. kickoff. So
it's right.
It's a late start, yeah. Good news is that it's Saturday night / Sunday morning. It's not Monday morning, so you've got Sunday to deal and recover. So that's some good news, especially for the British, Irish, and European fans on this side of the ocean. So of course, yes, we start every show, as we do, with a very important question. Answer this at home as well, whether you're watching live or after the show has gone out. Just give us, guys, what is your general thoughts and feelings on this weekend's game? It's a team double-digit wins. Cowboys on a two-game losing streak, but it's at home.
Yeah, the fact it's at home certainly makes it a bit better for us because we do have that streak, and you know that the crowd is going to be into this game. You know, it's not like a couple of years ago where people were trading away their tickets. A lot, you know, there are going to be a lot of Cowboys fans in attendance, probably, and you know, Detroit will be in the minority. But it is concerning that we're coming in on a 2-game skid. You know, at the same time, though, you can take something from the game against the Dolphins. We had that game until 3 minutes to go. The defense got a bit tired, and you know, the refereeing calls against weren't going against Mike, or weren't going in Micah's way. You know, so
that's standard nowadays.
Yep, 9 games without a sack.
31
or without a holding penalty.
Yeah,
31 quarters. But at the same time, I don't want to use that as an excuse.
Nope.
Like we shouldn't be using that as an excuse, because at the end of the day, like, if you're going to get too irate and speak about it on social media, it's just going to affect you mentally going into the game, and you're trying to like now forcefully try and call it out on the field, and referees are just not going to buy that. Like, just get on with it. Like, if it was like for like say me and you, Lauren, like, and I'm pretty sure like this is what the mentality of most NFL players should actually be doing. If you're getting hold and it's not getting called, it's like, all right, okay, if that's the game that you're going to play, okay, watch this.
Yeah.
Like, really punch it to their throat. That's what I would do. Like, is this it's like, what? And I'll be that to the referee. If that's the case, I'll be to this. Well, referees, you left me no choice here. You were like, that's what he gets for not for holding me. And they'll be like, oh, did we miss something here? There we go. That's what I would do. But but this game, despite its home field, I'm on the edge, if I'm being perfectly honest with you, because the Lions are hot right now. They are, like, and it's the first, and all credit to them. This is their first ever divisional win since being part of the NFC North. Since what, 1993?
91, something like that,
93, I think it was. And
so it's their first ever divisional title, right? And when you look at the history of all the players they've had since 1991, they had Barry Sanders, they had Megatron, they had Matthew Stafford, right? This is and the way they're playing just recently right now, this is a team we need to be very concerned about. Like, we could meet these guys again in the playoffs, potentially. True. Who knows? So, yeah, this is a playoff team we're going to be up against, and we're going to be at home. But at the same time, we cannot take these guys lightly.
And I mean, they've got something to play for as well. It's not like they've sewn up the division. They've got the division championship, but they could still potentially get the number 2 spot. So they're still fighting for that. You know, we're fighting for that as well, because if Philadelphia slip up once in the next 2 games and we win the next 2 games, then we automatically win the division as well. So then you're talking, are we 2 or 3? Are we the 5th seed or whatever? So that nothing is sewn up yet. So both teams have got something to win from this. And, Joe's saying here that Detroit will be drunk from winning the division. If you look at the press, they still got an absolute bollocking from their coaches. On Monday morning, they got a bollocking from their coaches for all the mistakes that they made. So the coaches aren't riding on it. Detroit shouldn't be riding on it. They'll come in feisty for this game as well. So
absolutely,
don't overlook them at all.
Absolutely. And I still remember when Detroit made the acquisition for their head coach, that all the media was like, oh, I don't think that's the right message you want to send to your team. Like, and he was basically saying, I'm going to be brutally honest. I'm going to be like talking crap to my players, etc., etc. And just like, oh, it's like, but at the same time, it's like, this is the type of coach you would want. You don't want a babysitter. You want a coach to actually tell you as it is. You want your coach to be in your face all the freaking time. And it's working now. Like, don't get me wrong, they had shaky games throughout the season, but now it's really starting to gel right now. Like, you had Jahmyr Gibbs and stuff like that really starting to kind of like a draft pick that we questions like, oh, that was a bit of a reach, but no, he's actually proven to be quite a useful weapon for Detroit. And even Sam Laporta, a guy that we wanted as our tight end, is being fantastic throughout the whole season for Detroit right now. He's been probably one of the most consistent fantasy players out there. If you're into your fantasy football right now, you're talking about at least 10 points per game on average. So he is a guy there you need to watch out for. And he is a good blocking tight end as well. He is a complete package tight end. So
I don't know about that. I'm not impressed by his blocking.
From what I've seen, mate, I've been very impressed with Laporta. I've been very impressed with him. Like, given time, in a couple of years' time, like, he can be a full, complete package, like the whole 9 yards. Obviously, there has been games where, in terms of the blocking, he has missed out. But from what I've seen, like, the traits are there. It's just a matter of actually perfecting it for him. And he's got the size, he's got the build to be a really good tight end. How teams overlooked him compared to the tight end from like Dalton Kincaid and stuff like that, that's another question on itself. But at the time, it made sense to go for Kincaid or Michael Mayer or whoever it was that you were thinking of. But man, it's I'm gonna be very honest with this upcoming game. I'm not gonna say, oh yeah, Dallas are gonna win dominantly. I'm not gonna say that. I think this is going to be a very closely contested game.
Yep.
I agree.
I think this is going to be very much like the Seattle Seahawks game a couple of weeks back.
Yes.
It's going to be whoever has the ball last.
Yep. It's all about who's going to be controlling the position of the game more than anything. And all credit to Jared Goff. Like, he's been like, he's turned his, I think he's kind of turning the corner in his career. Like, I know that may be a bit of a big statement to say that, but he's starting to find his groove finally in Detroit. He's had a shaky start since being traded from the LA Rams, but he's now starting to find his groove. Like, he's been very game managed, like, and this is the whole Cam Newton speech. He has been a game manager, but there's nothing wrong with that. He has been controlling this pace and how the direction of the game's going and utilizing his weapons as he should be. So all fair and big credit to Jared Goff. So that's something you need to take in consideration. And let's not forget their offensive line are pretty decent.
Are they often? Yes.
Yep.
That's the big one.
That's the big one. We're probably going to be up against one of the best offensive lines this season.
Certainly in terms of run blocking.
Absolutely. Absolutely, mate. Absolutely.
Yeah. I would say the Detroit Lions, in terms of pass protection, they're a top 10. But I would say in terms of run blocking, they're top three offensive line in terms of run blocking.
Yep.
So let's get into the Goff versus Dak debate. We always like to get into this one first. So obviously Goff has moved from the Rams and gone to Detroit. It's been a bit shaky. He's hot and cold, but he has done exactly what, like you said, game manager. What they've needed to do is they haven't asked Goff to win games. They just asked him to not lose them, and that's exactly what he's done. This guy, he's like, I think 5th in the NFL in passing yards. So they're doing that on a team that's predicated mostly on the run, on the running game. So let's put it this way: it is that. What is it for you guys? Do you think? But I mean, we could talk about Amon St. Brown and Sam Laporta as well. But what is it that has made Jared Goff suddenly come on the scene in this past season?
Hard to say, really. Like, nothing really actually stands out. He's not made any massive highlight reels and stuff like that. He's just been very controlled and precise in terms of what he's supposed to be doing.
Yeah,
like he's in control of his offense, and when you're in control of your offense, then you're going to do some good stuff. He's making good reads. He's knowing when to run the ball and when to pass the ball. So, and again, that kind of goes back to the whole game management perspective.
Yeah, I think for me, it's a combination of the sort of maturing that he has made over the last couple of years, particularly in this Dan Campbell system. He's come from, obviously he took the Rams to the Super Bowl, but there was a whole comment about, was that Sean McVay? Sean McVay, the Patriots that season were able to counteract them in the Super Bowl because they'd line up in one thing, and then as soon as the microphones cut out with 15 seconds to go, they'd line up in something different. So Sean McVay couldn't tell him, audible exactly to this or something like that. And this is what you're seeing now is he's in a system where it's a perfect storm. He's got the weapons that are coming on. He's getting production from just about everywhere across the field. Yep. He's getting time to throw. He's getting time to see it. And he's now 3-4 years down the line, and he's maturing into that quarterback who sees everything that little bit faster, able to dissect the game. And because he's got the running game to back him up and everything like that. Yeah. That's when he plays mistake-free football. The games where against the Bears this season, where the Bears jumped out to a lead, and then he was then put into obvious passing situations, much like Brock Purdy last week with the 49ers against the Ravens. That's when you make the mistakes. Much like Dak against the 49ers as well, where he was forced to pass the ball. That's when it's easy. When you become one-dimensional, that's when the defense can take it away and focus on the passing game. And, if everything works for Detroit, then Jared Goff goes that way as well. Everything works for him.
Yeah, and you said the big one, the run game. I think that's the big one. That they did have the run game in the Rams, and that helped Jared Goff out a lot there too. One of the things I was thinking when I was thinking about why it may have helped him is I'm also wondering that now he's not on the Rams and he's got that first round marker over him, the pressure's off him a little bit. I don't know if you guys agree with that.
Yeah. I think the pressure is off him. So, but I mean, as I say, there's still lots to play for. So there's still is an element of pressure on this. So,
yeah. No, obviously, because you don't want to be moving team for team all the time, because then that is a slippery slope.
Yeah, I mean, there is a very, very slim chance of us still clinching the title. Very slim. Like the Eagles need to lose both games, and we need to make sure we win both of them, and in order to clinch the NFC East.
If the Eagles lose one, then that's us. We win the remaining two. That's us, because it's now they're against conference and division. So if they lose to the Giants, we win because we've got the better division record. If they lose to the Cardinals, we've got the better conference record. So
one way or another.
The Dolphins and the Bills didn't actually do much for us unless you're going to that strength of victory.
Right.
And that's where it ends up.
But we won't be going to that one anyway because of the common opponents that they've got left. Yeah.
Well, either way, like by somewhat of a miracle, if that was to happen, then great. But we still have the task against a really good Detroit team ahead of us, and obviously we've got the last remaining game going to Washington, which you would expect us to go there and actually dominate. You would expect. Now that obviously with Sam Howell's been dropped, and now is it Tyrod Taylor, Jacoby Brissett, I think he's now starting. I believe so. So there is that element, but at the same time, we just need to focus on what we need to do here and just let the cards unfold on the table essentially. But yeah, like like I said, I'm not sure how to react to this game in particular. I'm just very, I guess I'm being apprehensive. I don't know if it's just because of the 2 previous losses and that. It's not because of that. I think it's just because of who Detroit are as a team right now. They are like, they can cause a threat. And like you said there, Lauren, like the whole Seattle game, that's exactly how I do feel about it. Like, I thought going into the Seattle game, yeah, we're going to take these guys apart. We did eventually do that, but it's that shaky moment during the halfway point of that game. It's like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen here. With this Detroit game, I think that could be the whole thing for this whole game. It could be an absolute shootout of a game. It could be high scoring, could be low scoring, but we may never know.
Yeah. I mean, going on the other side of that, now we've just been talking about Detroit and Jared Goff. How are you guys feeling about Dak Prescott at the moment? Obviously, now we've seen him in 2 games. See, the Buffalo game, I was willing to give a pass, right? The weather, the situation, the game script, how the defense was playing for the Cowboys. Last week, though, what I saw was a guy who was not getting much protection from his offensive line. Let's start there, right? The offensive line sucked. But what we also saw is we saw how that affected him mentally, that he was going through his progressions too quickly. He was making half-field reads, and then he was missing open receivers because of that. Obviously, we can predicate a lot of those problems because of the offensive line. But what I'm saying is we've seen a chink in his armor here. And, the other way to go back on this is name me other quarterbacks that wouldn't be affected by pressure. I mean, he was sacked 5 times in that game.
Yeah. Well, again, I've mentioned them already tonight. Brock Purdy, Trent Williams went out in the middle of that game. He folded. Trent Williams, it's no surprise. Trent Williams was out when they had that 3-game skid as well, mid-season after playing us. Trent Williams went out in our game. And, from that point on, that was when they had their 3-game losing streak. Trent Williams comes back. Brock Purdy's back to being in the conversation for MVP. It's possibly gone now for him as well. But I think the main thing is, Dak still drove the ball down the field. When the game was on the line, Dak drove the ball down the field, got the touchdown to Cooks. Fair enough. Our defense couldn't, we gave too much time there for Miami to take it down the field. They didn't give us any time left to try and mount a comeback as well, or even get into field goal range. But it still was a game that, when the game was on the line, that got us there. He did everything he could. Fair enough, there was a couple of quarters where it was a little bit shaky, and as you say, but when the game was on the line, he had that drive to take the lead. And we just gave too much time. So,
I mean, just to add on top, what's the number as well? Like, Dak scored 2 touchdowns in that game, like, and Tua only scored 1.
0 interceptions.
Yeah, and 0 interceptions. Dak, like, when you put it from a statistical point of view, Dak still looked as though he had a good game. The problem is, I think, is like you mentioned there, Mike, the offensive line is going to leave you with a doubt in your mind. And you made the point on this on Twitter, I believe, or someone else, is whenever CD Lamb is not physically on the field, there's a drop in production from everyone. Like it's like the wide receivers are in a cold spot in a way where if CD's not on the field, then I feel like all the pressure's too much.
There's nothing. There's not a big enough threat for teams to worry about. Yeah,
exactly. So whenever Lamb's on the field, and all the wide receivers seem to be more game for it, they seem to be more up for it to do the catches, chase the routes better. So, and that's a weird one. And here's the thing: we were on a good projection, like when we were moving the ball forward. Like it just seemed to be these past 2 games has been a bit of a digress from that, from what we were used to. But I mean, even still, when you look at it, CeeDee Lamb was 118 yards and 1 touchdown. That's still a really good start. Whereas we kept Tyreek Hill down to 100 yards, under 100 yards. He was 99 yards. We kept Mostert to only 46 yards. Statistically, Miami shouldn't have not won that game. Statistically, like
4th most explosive offense in the NFL. And the Cowboys defense kept them to 91 rushing yards.
Yeah, and they still won the game. They still won. And that's the difference. Is it's these clinical moments that we seem to stop at, not just offensively, but defensively as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
so
100%. I'm with you there, bro. That is exactly my thought. I wrote it in the article that I wrote down the statistic. I said, if you said that the Cowboys defense did that, we've won the game. But it's not. It's because what happened is there was moments in the game where the Cowboys defense got in its own way. Is the best way to put it.
The Cowboys offensive line got in the way of our running backs as well. I mean, there was one play where Tony Pollard got a 5-yard run, but he had to he ended up pushing Terrence Steele out of the way, because Terrence Steele, I don't know what he was doing, but he ended up over the left-hand side of the line. And Tony Pollard had to put his head down and actually bounce off Steele's belly and then still get 5 yards. And then later on, you've got the goal line run where somehow he didn't manage, stretch the ball out, for God's sakes, or something like that, because the body got in the ball. Typically, just ended up, still on that half-yard line. Our offensive line got in the way, and whether it's again that Juma's not been in for a couple of weeks or whatever, and there's all this miscommunication or whatever, but this offensive line did no favors for our offense at all. So you're now going into this game. You're now going into this game. Rico Dowdle's out. So that means Malik Davis is going to have to be brought up, and I can't remember how many elevations he's got, but it might be a case of you got to put him on the 53.
I think this would be. I think this is. So he's had 3.
Yeah. So you got to bring it. You got to bring him up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm so glad that you mentioned Chuma Adoga. He's not a left tackle. Let's be honest here. He's not.
No.
He was playing like he was playing at the guard position. I'm sorry, but
no, he was. I agree, mate.
The instances where he left Bradley Chubb unattended, and that's one thing as the offensive line you never ever leave at. Like if you're playing in a tackle position, always ensure that the outside edge is always blocked up, either some way or one way or another. Like if you've got a guy in the free tech position inside between you and the guard, then maybe just give him like the stiff arm to help assist your guard to get repositioned, and again, then start tracking back to really seal the block. You do not go fully committed into a double team and leave the defensive edge
to just free roam.
Like it depends. Like it really depends on the play. If you're using the edge as your run play option for the fake handoff, then I get that. But that was not the case at all.
Yeah. So, I mean, even if you're expecting the running back to be outside in for his blitz pickup protection, stick a stiff arm off, redirect the guy at least.
Exactly.
Give your running back a chance to actually, pop him or whatever. That was something that.
Pop and move.
I mean, again, that's just
Pop and move, Lauren. That's it. Pop and move.
Yeah.
Like because ideally that should always be your priority. If you're like, and what happens if Bradley Chubb was to try and come inside or something like that, and but there is no gap to move inside if your guard's already sealed that gap by double teaming that interior tackle. That defensive end's like that. Really? Is this it? I've got a free hit here. Thank you very much, Dallas. Like that's essentially what happened. And that was the downfall. Like, and not to mention as well, like, as much as I love Ferguson and I'm liking how Shoemaker is kind of progressing.
Good as a run blocker now.
Wee bit there, but they were a wee bit subjective in terms of the blocking as well. Like they'd left it unattended as well. They could have helped out in some way or another, like even just like kind of get in the way for half a set and then get off or whatever. But yeah, Udoka is not doing it for me at all. And I really do like, I know what saying, like doing a switch up, maybe put Udoka in at guard and put Tyler at left tackle. I would be in favor of that, but at the same time, it's like, who else would we put in at the left tackle position as of right now if Tyron's out?
He's questionable to play this weekend, but here's the question, right?
Who Udoka is?
No, Tyron Smith. So
of course he is.
Yeah, but here's the question, right? So you've got week 17, week 18, and then we're into the playoffs, right? So at this stage, you want Tyron Smith, who's, obviously he's often injured. He's going through whatever it is he's going through. Would you be like, come on then, let's put him in and get this sorted? Or do you just say, let's bite the bullet, guys, at left tackle? We've got 2 games where we have to figure it out. Let's have a fresh Tyron Smith for the playoffs.
It really depends. Like if Philadelphia were to win this weekend, then yeah, I would leave Tyron out for the Washington game or whatever. Like that would be me, because at the same time, I would want us to kind of beat Detroit and put the pressure on Philadelphia to do something and screw up. Essentially, that's what I would think.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just thinking that you want Tyron Smith. I feel at this stage, just leave it. Just leave him out. Wrap that guy up in bubble wrap and make sure he stays away from any slippery surfaces.
Yep.
That's basically it for me for right now. But obviously, we know as well, Dowdle is out this weekend. You mentioned that. Let's talk then about this running game for Dallas. People are saying that the running game sucks. Is that true or not true, guys?
Statistically, we're average.
Tony Pollard's top 10 running back.
We're above average statistically, but looking at it on film, it's not particularly the best. Like we get some really good lucky breaks from there and there, yeah, and that's what really pumps up the yardage and stuff like that, yeah, which is fine. But in an overall perspective, it's still not good enough. You
hit the big one for me there. The one for me is that they're not getting the explosive plays. That's the problem.
Yeah. And part of that as well is when it comes to 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, and you're not able to punch those in as well. I mean, things like the goal line with Pollard as well. If you can't punch that in, then defense, that gives the defense a nose, and they start getting confidence off that, and they can stop you. And it almost makes your offense become one-dimensional, where when it gets to 3rd and 3 or whatever, you are possibly thinking pass more often than run. And we've seen it this season, actually. Probably our passing game has probably been a case of pass to set up the run more than anything else.
Yeah.
If we're relying on the running game, it's not happening for us. And I mean, that's quite strange, because obviously when we had Linehan, when we had Kellen Moore, there was run to set up the pass.
Yeah,
and this is the other way around that we're in now. And
so what do you think has changed then, Lorne? Because to me, Pollard's all right. We've lost Ezekiel Elliott. All right.
Yep.
But to me, that's more of the dirty yards, the short yards. That the best example would be that Tony Pollard miss in the end zone from the 5-yard line. Zeke walks that in. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Well, what's different? What's changed? How come there seems to be a struggle in the run game then when you do watch it?
I think because we don't have a back like Zeke, and because the pressure has been put on to Tony Pollard to be the Zeke type back in the opener, You know, he doesn't have the skill set that Zeke did, and Zeke would at least get you positive yard 9 times out of 10. If he was getting hit in the backfield, Zeke would still get you 0, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
You know,
and you wonder how it happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're seeing too many negative plays on first and second down, putting you into passing situations. Now, I'm not saying start Dowdle. You know, if Dowdle was fit, start him and then bring on Pollard, because you are paying Pollard the money. But equally, we haven't seen the Pollard of last season, and I think that there is an element of that, is that he doesn't have that change of, he doesn't have the ability to be Zeke. He was better as the change of pace back. Let Zeke tenderize that defensive line, and then everything's open for Tony Pollard.
That's a really good point you just made there, Lauren. The thing I noticed with Tony Pollard, and particularly that game there, is the lack of physicality.
The lack of power, yeah, definitely.
Like, that play in particular, right? And I think decision-making as well. Like, Pollard could have easily ran off to the sideline and actually ran that for the touchdown, but he decided at the brink of the moment to actually try and take on the safety or corner, whoever that was at the time. I couldn't remember. I don't know if it was Jalen Ramsey or whoever it was, and he was too upright. He didn't dip the shoulder down. Then these should be basic things. If you're trying to really gain those extra duck yards, you lower the shoulder down to really try and get the lower advantage to really upright the defensive player to force him back a couple of yards. Didn't do that. He either stopped in his tracks like a stone wall. It's like he went into a concrete wall. So for me, like, Pollard will be that halfback where it's going to be outside run and screen passes. That's it. He's never, ever going to be your power style running back. And
he's a scat back.
I've said that time and time and over again. That was one of my biggest concerns, the fact that, like, don't get me wrong, Dowdle has provided us some of that this year, and I want to see more of Dowdle. But the problem with Dowdle is he gets injured quite a fair wee bit. And to make Valenti's point there, like, we do need a proper power down running back in rotation with this roster. And with Tony Pollard being on the franchise tag, we're probably overutilizing him than what we should be. Like, if Tony Pollard was still in his normal contract, he would not be. I'll say this right. I agree. I don't think he'll be getting utilized. In the same way, because he's on this franchise tag. We're trying to
get the money's worth.
Try and get the money's worth.
Yeah.
Like, and don't get me wrong, Tony Pollard is almost at 1,000 yards a season, which is great, but it is lacking that extra X factor as a running back. Like, you need to have all the McCaffrey has all those components. He can be a power back. He can be the scat back. Like you kind of mentioned there, Derrick Henry, that same situation. Like, you've got the running back for Cleveland, who's obviously he tore his ACL or whatever. Nick Chubb, he's that type of running back. You've got Gibbs right now, maybe a little bit undersized, but he's willing to take on the power role as well. So it just feels like there is that lack of physical presence when you're running with the ball. Like, we're not sending a message. We're not putting linebackers on their backside whenever we're hitting the gaps, when we're getting tackled. Whenever we had Zeke with that, linebackers and safeties were scared to make the tackle and Zeke because they know what was coming.
Breaking their will.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, when you had and Zeke's doing that right now with New England. He's been on fire for the past 2 games. Zeke.
Yep.
So and we can complain as much as we want the fact that we do miss Zeke. Yes, we do miss him, but at the end of the day, it was a business decision.
Yeah, what's done is done. Yeah.
What is done is done. Yeah, but like, would we ever prefer to have Pollard to give us that more different dynamic for our offense, or would we just want to kind of keep Zeke along? Like, I would love to have had both personally, but from the money perspective, there was no way we were going to be able to keep both of them. No chance.
Especially with what's coming up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the question is now, and I know we're still in the regular season, and I know I hate talking about for next year. I don't see us want to retain Tony Pollard regardless.
No, I don't see it. No.
No.
I've seen enough personally. Like, I still think he's still a good player, but I would not give him a big contract based on this. Like,
I think that's why they franchise tagged him. I think the idea was the franchise tag was
see where they're at.
Yeah, and get a year out of him, run him to, give him 20 carries a game, which is about what he's getting. And just, if they really were looking to get another contract out of him, they would be looking to do more to preserve him. Everything that I've seen this season says to me this is a one and done.
Yeah.
That's why they're using him in the way that they use him.
It feels like the whole Dalton Schultz year as well.
Yeah, although we know other reasons why that came about.
Yeah, well, we do know that. We do know that, but from a pure footballing perspective,
yeah.
Like, we need more variation. We need more from our running back group. Like, get Lipke more involved. Great.
Damn it, you beat me to it.
like get Lipke more involved. Great. That does give us a more dynamic. Like, yeah, he may have fumbled the ball, but that's just down to the fact that our coaches have not given him enough reps. Let's be honest.
Yep. Exactly.
Right? Like, it's like, why haven't we utilized Lipke up till now? That's a question we need to give Mike McCarthy in that one, because we had him in the 53-man roster. Why haven't we been utilizing him? Because surely, when you're bringing in a fullback, and in terms of this West Coast offense package, that is one of the other fundamentals, is to have a fullback in there to really deliver some different variations to deliver your run game.
Yeah,
or to
fullback,
even
if you're in fullback handoff, you want to do it that way. If he's not the single back, because I've got the article coming out, I think tomorrow, and I've written about Hunter Lipke, and I've said that at the start of the game, they gave him 2 carries in the middle of the field, right, early on. But then they go down to the 5-yard line and they're giving Tony Pollard a handoff. Now, I'm saying switch those handoffs. If
that was the other way about,
different ball game. And I don't understand why they're doing it that way. You've given essentially a what he's here. You could call him a power back, because he's not going to be the guy who bounces off to the outside. He's hitting the A gap, and that is it, plain and simple, right?
Yeah.
So why are you trying to give him handoffs and make him run off tackle in the middle of the field, in the middle of the game, when you've got a fresh Tony Pollard who will whiz around on those runs? But then when you go down to the 5-yard line and you're just trying to get pushed, like Hunter Lipke, if he gets stopped at that 1-yard line like he did, his size and momentum would be enough to just fall over and carry him through. So I don't understand it. I don't get why they're not using Lipke more. And also, you put Lipke on, even if you have them in twin back sets, he's there to deliver a punch to crash through. So if you are using Pollard, you've then got at least somebody ahead of you, truck and trailer, to clear the way.
Or jumbo, or even have the jumbo.
You could go jumbo package.
Like you could have your running back and your fullback and single I form. Like, you would have your fullback to go through the gap to really create a better gap, and Pollard would just seep through. Why didn't we do that?
Exactly. That's what I was saying. Truck and trailer.
Yeah, and I mean, in this West Coast offense as well, you only have to look at the 49ers, the way they use check. That is what we should be doing with Lipke as well. Give him more looks at other things as well. Get him doing Texas routes, loop routes, whatever. Get him doing what James Cook did against us a couple of weeks ago. That sort of thing. That's what we need out of him. And that then makes it, again, takes pressure off it. It makes them think about what's being used, or what formations we're in, and what potential things are happening, and that then that creates doubt in the defense, so that they don't just come on and go, right, okay, they're going power back. It's either going to be, it's going to be try and fire it up the A gap with with Pollard or whoever's behind Luke Kay, or there might be the subtle handoff to the fullback. But if there's something else that they've got to consider, that makes it easier for our offense, and it's not happening there. And as we said, this whole disappearing from CD Lamb, I mean, you've got to question some of the play calling in this last game as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm with you there. Like, what? Yeah. Why not throw it to him for essentially the center part of your game? Right, nothing, zilch. Yep. So we see at the start of the game what happens when you give him the ball. They go through this long stretch of not doing it. Then they decide to go back to it and find success again. It baffles me why you went away from it to begin with when, you just have to funnel everything through CD. It's just the way it has to be at the moment.
Also, you could, even though we're mentioning some Mike McCarthy's play calling, why can we get Jake Ferguson more involved at the times when he is very reliable on, so early on in the game? That could have made a hell of a difference. We didn't utilize him until the third quarter properly, and he only got 4 receptions. He got 45 yards with an 11.3 average, but that's still still good stuff. But he could have been utilized throughout the whole game and still made a difference. He was open in certain scenarios that could have been easily a first down and whatever and that. So, and I just saw Joe's comment. It's why don't we use Deuce Vaughn? The
size.
It's the size. That's really what that's coming down to. If we're going up against the defensive line are going to be sluggish, then we'll utilize him because he's going to outpace them. But if we're going to go up against a physical team that can break off our offensive linemen and get into the beyond the line of scrimmage, then it's going to be a really tough day to really smother a guy that's 5'8".
Yeah, it makes you one-dimensional.
In high heels, Paul.
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, it's just he makes the offense very one-dimensional. I think he's a guy that needs to crack the special teams, and because you've got Kevontae Turpin doing his thing, there's no way for him to break through, really. So that's a tough point. But let's get onto the defense, guys. Let's start with the defensive line. Where has the pass rush gone, guys?
That's a good question. It feels like the several past 4 weeks, at least, it's completely declined.
Yeah.
We're struggling to get to the quarterback a lot more from both Parsons and D-Law and everybody. Interiors, we're struggling to even get in. There's less numbers and pressures, it seems. So I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just fatigue. I don't know what it could be. But for me, I'm a wee bit concerned because that's now going to put more pressure on our secondary now, because it all works, like I keep saying, it's a chain reaction. If your front of the line are not putting the pressure on the quarterback, then it's going to be more work for your cornerbacks. It works yin and yang that way.
Yeah, and I mean equally as well, the penalties that we've given up, the roughing the passer penalties, that gets your defensive line thinking again, and maybe holds up a little bit as well. You and I, when we were sat here talking last week in the pregame warm up to the Dolphins, we were saying that obviously we had to take advantage of this offensive line because Tua was a fast release quarterback. We didn't take advantage of that. Why didn't we take advantage of that? Now, the few plays that I saw of Mazi Smith was out of his stance and was playing well, but there wasn't a coordinated effort, and I don't know why there wasn't. Is it a question that because Micah is getting held and not getting called for it, the offensive line are getting they're getting confidence that they can get away with this, and then the other guys aren't stepping up, or if they are stepping up, then that's when you get the penalties called on you or anything like that. There's just it's frustrating that we're going and it always seems to be December that we seem to have problems, and it's not injury problems. It's a lack of form or something happens.
Fatigue. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even the turnovers, because a lot of what the Cowboys defense was doing was predicated on turnovers. Even those have dried up. We're getting no forced fumbles. We're getting no interceptions. Not even getting close. Seems to be just like some sort of fatigue is kicking in. But the big one for me, guys, talk to me. Tell me, what do we do with the linebacker position? Damone Clark, the only real true linebacker we have. What we saw last week with Marquise Bell, obviously he's making the tackles, but we're seeing the issues of having a hybrid type linebacker in there, who's a safety linebacker type guy, who's just too light not too light, but he's light for the position, so he gets rumbled often. What are we doing about linebacker, especially now Rashawn Evans is gone?
I actually don't know how to answer that, if I'm being perfectly honest.
Yeah.
Again, it starts up front that we need to get our defensive linemen holding up these offensive linemen, stop them getting to the second level. And yes, there's been the drop off with not having Hankins play, and Hankins is out for this weekend as well. I really don't know that you'll see him before the playoffs, to be honest. I think you'll see him back in. Obviously, we're going to be playing a first-round game, I think. The chances of us getting the 1 seed, you'd need an absolute implosion from the 49ers and the Eagles and the Lions as well. So we are going to be playing the first round of this playoffs, and that's when I think Hankins is going to come back. But we need everybody to step up. We need to go back to playing team concept. Defensive line, hold your man up, let the linebackers float the ball.
Yeah.
And that's where they can use the speed. I think last week it was interesting. Curse was being used as a linebacker more. That was probably more to do with the speed of Miami.
That's what I think, yeah.
Yep.
And they didn't really worry about the threat of the tight end, Smythe. Yep.
You've got to wonder as well, is obviously Malik Jefferson is still on the practice squad. Is there going to be some jiggery pokery that you put somebody onto IR? I see Fajoko's back on the injury report this week. Is there maybe a shutdown for him or whatever? But
he's out officially, I believe.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So wonder where that one's going. I'm with you there. So it's a tricky one, but let's do this, guys. Everyone at home as well. This is the big question. We have a big question to start the show, but we have the big question to end the segment is, what's your final score predictions, guys? Now, if you're watching live or even if you're watching after the show's gone out, make sure to answer this question. Just put your answer of what you believe the final score is going to be. We see your questions, your answers, even after the show's gone out, we'll answer them. So, final score predictions, guys. While you're thinking about it, I'll let you know I've handed my one in already. So, I've said the Cowboys win 28-21.
Cowboys 27, Detroit 24.
And I'm going to go 26-23 Cowboys.
Oof. So we're all in the same area of a close game that's going to hover in the 20s.
Yep. I see that.
And Joe's gone for his 40 burger again.
Yep. As always, he's so consistent, Mr. Joe. And DC Worldwide Media, welcome.
Yeah,
should have traded for Joe from Denver at the deadline. We like our guys. They just have to roll what we've got. And Valentes came in with 24-20. So a lot of the scores that we have said tonight are all roughly in the 20 ballpark, very close. So we're all thinking the same thing here.
And the one caveat I have is that somebody make sure Jerry has a teleprompter for when he's doing the induction speech at halftime, that he doesn't mess up and say, "Into the Ring of Honor is Barry Switzer." Okay, it's Jimmy Johnson that's going in, because we want this curse lifted, and we want it lifted now. If it's lifted at halftime, we cruise the second half.
Yeah. And DC Worldwide went for 31-20 Cowboys. I like that. I like that.
Yeah, no, this is a very score.
Yep.
All right, then. So let's get into the final section, guys. This is, in fact, the final show where we will be doing this. After this, it's all done. So we're about to find out in next week's episode who the winner is of the Fantasy Lounge. Play along at home, guys. It's very, very simple. Over and under is all we do. We give you the fantasy points. You tell us if it's going to be more or less, or you can push, which gives you a point either way. But before we do that, okay, the important moment. Oh, Lorny.
Oh,
Yes.
I knew I dropped again.
Yeah. You didn't get a single Cowboys one right last week, so yeah. You made up for it though on the other side. So here we are. It's all to play for though, because Lorne, if you drop, you need to get more than 50% right this week. You do that, you win. Paul. Right. Let's have a look. Off the top of my head, I can't think, but I would say you need 50%. You need to get half of these right to overtake Lorne because of your bonus point situation. But let's get into this, and we will find out what the scores are going to be next week and who will be crowned the UK Cowboys TV fantasy winner. All right, let's do this then. Okay, Dak Prescott, guys, 20.1 fantasy points. Did not hit that threshold last week.
Push.
Interesting.
I think we need a big game out of him this week. I think we need, the last time that CeeDee Lamb questioned the offensive play calling, Dak and CD responded, and I think that's the way I'm going. So I'm going higher.
Nice. Get in there, Lorne. I like it. All right, then let's go with Tony Pollard, 13.7 fantasy points.
Lower.
That's a push for me. I want him to show me more, but I think 60 yards, couple of receptions, and maybe a touchdown.
Yeah, it'll be the touchdowns for me with Tony Pollard. Last week he didn't make 10 fantasy points, so it was a struggle. But ironically,
I'm saying lower.
Yeah, I've got you on lower. But what's ironic is he scores the touchdown on that 5-yard goal plunge. He goes over.
Yep.
It's literally that's the swing. All right, then CeeDee Lamb, 19.5 fantasy points.
No, he would need to get 65 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
If he'd got that touchdown, he'd got that touchdown last week, he would have.
Oh, last week, right? Oh,
yeah,
I thought you were talking about this game coming up.
No. So last week he was under, but if he'd scored the touchdown, he would have been over. So it's literally all on the touchdown rate. So CeeDee Lamb, as we say, could very well break Michael Irvin's Dallas Cowboys single season record if he has just 100 yards really off these two games. You can get close enough. I think he's 200.
It's 100 yards, and it's two receptions for receptions in the year.
Yeah,
and something like 100 yards for the yardage record
champion.
As well, so.
Yeah. So he's not far off. So hit me with it, guys. It is 19.5 fantasy points.
Split.
Well, I'm going high. I'm going higher on that one as well. I think as I said, the last time he called out the coaching, he responded with a big game as well. So I'm going higher on that one.
I'm going split, lower yards, but more touchdowns. Okay,
I like it. All right. And what did you say? Sorry, Ron?
Higher.
I would go with higher too. All right then, Jake Ferguson. So this is quite interesting. He didn't actually make. He didn't make his score last week. You said it was going to be over, and he didn't actually make it. He was not far off though. But 10.9 fantasy points, guys.
Higher.
And I'm gonna go higher on that one as well.
All right, then. And then the Cowboys defense, which only had 1 fantasy point last week. They're on for 5.9 fantasy points. Where has the sacks and the turnovers gone?
I'm going to say lower.
I'm going to say they come back this week because we're at home.
Mm-hmm.
But even so, I'm going to go ever so slightly higher.
In fact, change mine to split then.
There we go. I got you. All right, then. On to the line side, guys. Jared Goff, 15.1 fantasy points.
Higher.
Yeah, higher.
Okay. Both going higher on that. Thinking Amon has a big game then, yeah? So you could go one of 2 ways on this. I decided to go with the guy who's got the most yards, David Montgomery. That's on their roster. 14.1 fantasy points. To let you know, these guys, David Montgomery and Jamar Gibbs, have combined for 20 rushing touchdowns this year. So the Cowboys running backs in the last 4 weeks have scored 2 touchdowns. They scored together 3 just last week.
Push. I'm going push.
I'm going lower on that. I think we do a good job of focusing on the main running back. So I'm gonna go lower on that one.
Shite. Sorry, I'm dropping my phone. It's got all my details on. All right. No. All right then. Amon St. Brown. He's clipping at CeeDee Lamb's heels. 50.8 fantasy points. 5th in receiving yards.
I'm going to say lower this time.
Okay.
And I'm gonna push on that one.
You're gonna push. Give me a reason for lower then, Mr. Paul. Yes.
I'll tell you why in a second.
Oh, all right then. Sam Laporta, 9.4 fantasy points. Rookie tight end, leading the NFL in tight end touchdowns.
Way higher, and that's why.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going higher on that one as well.
All righty. Higher and higher. I believe as well he's 5th in receiving yards among tight ends and 4th in first downs, if I can remember off the top of my head. I did write it down, but I can't remember. All right, and finally, the defense for the Lions, 6.1 fantasy points.
I don't know. I'm just going to say pushing that one.
I'm kind of like that. Their defense is a little bit all over the place. Really good run stoppers, but literally they're like averaging 2.3 sacks per game, which is like right down the bottom.
It's better than us right now in terms of what we're doing in the past 5 games.
Yeah, I mean, it's very strange what they did. So they yeah, that's true. But it seems to be that they've like they draft a guy like Jack Campbell, who's your very typical Sam linebacker, run stopper. I think they're averaging like 91 rush yards per game on defense that they're allowing, but the sacks they're not there, which is crazy to say when you think of the type of guys they've got.
Yep. I'm going to push on that one as well. I think Aiden Hutchinson should feast if Tyron Smith's not playing and we're using a backup unless communication's better this week. But I think the Lions, as I say, they are a good team. Their defense has been fair to middling. I think they'll do enough.
Yeah. All right. Well, there we go. Then we have it, guys. We've only got one more regular season one to do. Then it's playoff time, so it means we're just on a random amount of time. But it is, of course, as well New Year's Eve. So coming up, so the next show that you get from the guys on the post-game show will be in 2024. Check that out. So before we get out of here, hit me with it then, Lorne.
Okay, if you're planning on going to a game next season, make sure you hook up with Cowboys Experience for the ultimate game tickets, stadium tours, meet and greets, and much, much more. Get to meet guys like Micah Parsons, Jay Novacek, Zach Martin, Drew Pearson, Wanway Thomas, Tyler Smith, and if you're going to go through Cowboys Experience, make sure you drop the promo code UK Cowboys and you'll get some free stuff from them as well. And Barry will make sure that you have a great time.
Yes, so that is it. Like I say, from us this week. Guys will be back on the post-game show Tuesday, maybe Wednesday, depending on what's going on. It's that weird time of the year. And obviously there's college football all going on as well, which is even more important. Oh, man. Favorite time of the year. But as I say, stay safe. Enjoy your New Year's parties and events, whatever you get up to. And we'll be back next week. And as we always say, I started the first word on this show. So these guys get the last word. Stay safe, guys.
Okay, have a very happy New Year when it comes. Let's go Cowboys. Let's go Texas. Let's get through to the next round as well. So have a good week, guys. Speak to you next week.
Tell us forever, fella for never, as per usual. Go Cowboys.